All right, we're going to go ahead and get ready. Good morning again. I want to welcome everybody again to the Curry School of Education. We're here in Bavaro Hall and Holloway Hall, and welcome to everybody that's joining us from the comfort of their own desks. I'm Ellen Messana. We're glad that everybody could come today.
Most people know me, Daryl Kozik. Ellen's asked me, as I always do, to try to give some little quick speech. So I'm not going to give a whole lot, just the one-liner. But first of all, I want to let everyone know that this is our second meeting for this new group, and one thing that's most important is the communications. And one thing we talked about last time was the journey that we're going to be on. So this is the second step of this journey, and we've got a lot of steps moving forward. So we're not done yet. There's still some work to go. But I was at a payroll conference last month, and one thing that really jumped out more so than I've ever heard in the past, we talk about 4 generations in the workforce, but there's really only 2. Okay, there's us old, and then there's you young. And so what us old folks realized that it didn't happen overnight. We got to all this over the course of time. And so we've been doing it for a long time. So we're hoping that you young take that lead and give it some time to work out, okay? So it's part of that journey. So one of the quotes that I picked up when I was at the conference was from Ben Franklin, and I think we all know who he was. But it's rather interesting and see how this could apply as we continue on this journey. And he says, "Tell me and I'll forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I'll understand." So that's what we're doing now. We're trying to get people involved. We want to keep everybody on this journey and give everyone the opportunity to move slowly across it. And then as we get better at it and we get more of these meetings, we'll pick up the speed a little bit, okay? So the next phase before we start, because it's an action-packed agenda before we move on, is there anybody who's new to the organization, new to this group that hasn't been here before, new in your position? If you wouldn't mind standing and let us know who you are and potentially what department you're working for, if you want to disclose that.
Hi, I'm Lisa Mullins, and I work in the School of Medicine.
Well, Lisa, as you stand, look around, because all the people that are sitting are your best friends. They're part of that old group now. Okay.
I'm Julie Bird, and I'm the Change Management Lead on the UBI.
Okay, and I'm sure you understand change management.
I hope.
Yeah, everyone's sitting is your best friend, so spread that word. Okay, and you can borrow the quote later if you want. Okay. Okay, with that.
All right, I think we have an action-packed agenda. We want to make sure everybody's got time. Where did Brian go?
I'm right here.
You're always such a presence. I kind of lost you. Everybody want to introduce?
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you very much.
So Brian's here to give our You First update.
Hi, everybody. Can I have a volunteer? Quick volunteer?
Sure.
Thank you. You can stay down there. I just need somebody to keep me on track on time. I was told I had about 20 minutes. I'd really like to stop at about no more than 15 so we could have questions. Does that sound fair? And I didn't even wear my watch today.
Gotcha.
I feel like I'm old. How do you feel? Old? I know Daryl was kind in saying he's old and you're young. But I'm sitting there thinking I'm feeling pretty old. Right. So I'd like to just talk to you a little bit about You First. I had the pleasure of talking with this group before. I know many of you are aware of You First. So what I'd like to do is just paint a little bit of a picture of the service delivery approach and then get your questions. I mean, we are gearing up. We've kind of wrapping up what's phase 1 in the project. Phase 1 really was a year of work. It was to get buy-in on a concept that we're going to do transformation of HR. It's buy-in on an approach that says we can be better if we align HR across the entities of UPG and the medical center and the academic side. And then it was saying, what is our approach to doing this, which I'll explain, and then how can we take a high-level viewpoint of all of those aspects? That's where we are right now. No more, but that's a lot. And I think at this stage of a project like this, it's easy to think that all of the questions have been answered, that all of the deeper designs have been fleshed out, that there are answers about a structure, that there are answers about positions and departments, and honestly, they're not answered yet. All of the work to date, again, is the concept, which is a huge shift for us, of aligning HR across the entities, and the design at a very high level. So that's where we are. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that, and then I'll paint the picture of what I think will be the case over the next 18 months or so, but it's just starting to unfold. So there are many, many questions that I'm sure we all have, questions I have, that are not yet answered. And that's not because they're secrets, it's because truly they've not yet been answered. Sound okay? All right, excellent. So what I'd like to just paint a picture of the new HR in terms of from a service delivery standpoint. And the foundation of the new HR is this idea of an interplay between three components. Now you see more than three up there, but I'd like to just call out three. And one is this idea of a business partner. Think of it as a super generalist. And I say super generalist because we think generalist in a certain way, very valuable role, but this is even different than that, in that it's an anchor with the school or unit or division that that business partner is aligned to. And there'll be many of them, and they'll be aligned in some fashion that makes sense. How many will we have? What's the answer? I don't know, right? Okay, exactly where they will be placed. What's the answer? I don't know. But we know we will have them, and we know that they'll be a vitally important embedded part of that school, unit, or division. So let me stop right there. Questions about that component of the approach?
What will they be doing?
You have an assignment. Your assignment was what? Thank you. No, that's a perfectly fair question. You're just an easy target. They'll be doing many things, and that role is being fleshed out now. But as I say, it's a super generalist, and so they'll really understand what is the mission, the goals, and be a vitally important link to fulfilling those for the school, the unit, or the division that they're assigned. That could be on workforce planning, that could be on strategic hiring, that could be on organizational development. If there's some OD shifts happening in that particular school, unit, or division, it's understanding, and we all know every school, unit, or division is at a different place in all of those things. So you would be embedded, working closely with the leadership and the management to be kind of the real strategic link to the people needs of that particular operation. Calling on expertise in all the rest of the organization to help you, whether it's hiring, employee relations, comp, benefits, certain business services, analytics. That's high level. Sound good? Yeah.
How do they get to be super generalists?
Well, there's my word, super. The business partner gets to be that way in a number of ways. One, they come that way, They come with years of experience in HR, working in HR in any number of places, and they have a sense of the body of knowledge of HR. Maybe they've got an HR certification. Maybe they have experience partnering with management and being embedded already in a school, unit, or division, or doing that somewhere else in the world. Another way is they grow and develop into that role. And so that is, again, the hope for is that we'll have some of both. My guess is, and what's the answer in exactly how this will unfold? My guess is that we have great talent within that'll be in business partners, that will develop some people into that role, and we'll probably hire some people from outside into those roles. So, excellent. So that's component one. Component two is centers of expertise. And these are deep subject matter expertise to help identify policies and procedures, as well as to provide guidance and help in core HR areas. And the first four, and I think more will unfold over the years, are what you would expect in an HR shop. Employee relations. Do we have work that happens in the employee relations space at the University of Virginia? Every organization does, and we do as well. So we need somebody who's deep into policy and process and high-level expertise so that a business partner can partner with that center of expertise as needed on those high-level employee relations issues. Total rewards. This is our health and welfare benefits, our compensation, our rewards and recognition for policy and process. We have a lot going on there, so we need to have deep subject matter expertise there. Talent management. Talent management, think learning and development, which we have a lot of capability on the medical center side and in the academic side, but it goes even beyond talent, learning and development. It goes into workforce planning, which is something that is really not done institutionally in a very common way. Goes into succession development. We have a little bit of that with the Cornerstone program, but even more broadly, it goes into true onboarding, which happens in a whole lot of places in many different ways. That's talent management. It is a large center of expertise. And then finally, the fourth one is, I'm forgetting it now. Employee relations, total rewards, talent management, and talent acquisition. How could I forget talent acquisition? Do we hire people at the University of Virginia? We do. And so talent acquisition is, again, our processes, our policy, our expertise in that area. And that could cover everything from our amazing temp world to executive search to faculty hiring to nurse recruitment and sourcing and selection to all the staff roles that we have. So we have to have deep expertise there. I will stop. Do we know how many people will be in each center of expertise? What is the answer?
Don't know.
We don't know. Do we know exactly where they will be housed?
Don't know.
No, we don't know. We just know that we have these four, we have high-level designs, and the next phase of the work is really to kind of flesh those out and do that work. Questions about centers of expertise? You have a question in the back?
I have thoughts.
All right. All right, moving on. The third, yes.
Well, I just want to make sure it sounds like you're going to have different HR positions in different schools and departments, right? It's not going to be one center like we have now. HR, is that what I'm getting?
There's going to be one HR organization. What does the exact structure look like?
We don't know yet.
We don't know, but there will be one organization. It's very easy to make some assumptions based on that they'll be all co-located in one place. That's very likely not going to happen. In fact, I know it's not going to happen because the whole point of these people would be to be embedded in their school unit or division. Even the idea of a service team that might really be an integrated service team that goes even beyond what we do at the medical center and the academic side. Maybe there's satellites and maybe there's pop-up service centers that come with certain hours in different places. Do we know exactly how that's going to happen? Not yet. So yes, one organization, but located all over. Good question. So the last part is this idea of a service center. And in many ways, this is, I think, among the harder to get because we have an academic side service center that has done good work for many years and we have a medical center service center. They've done similar things and different things, but this is taking the idea of the service center and kind of blowing it up because it's all that we know of now, but imagine where we have the kind of enabling technology that more than 50% of the kinds of things that come to that would be enabled by the individual to just get themselves, which frees up this new service center to add a higher level of service, meaning in terms of less routine things. There'll still be some routine things and questions to be answered, as well as transactional support in the new world. And again, hopefully the kind of transactional support is different in a cloud-based system than the kind of transactional support that's required now with JobsAd and Oracle. So again, some of this is a bit of a leap of faith. It's like we don't really know what that'll look like. We just know that this new, and who came and saw some of the demos in this room? So some of you probably had a taste of the leap we're going to make technologically that can really open up the ability of that integrated service team to add value in so many different ways where frankly they just don't have the time to do it now based on sheer size as well as the kind of volume and the questions that we have. 4 minutes left to get to 15? Thank you. Questions about the service center? Yes?
Maybe you covered this in the last presentation that I missed, but is there, in this plan, is there more integration with the provost office and EOP so that we don't have to call 3 different places to get questions answered?
Exactly how? But yes, EOP in particular, we're talking with EOP and we think that there should be a lot even better alignment in the new HR. The provost office is even more integrated. I think the HR aspects of what the provost office does. Certainly the provost office is the authority related to faculty personnel, if you will, policy and practice, but the integration of that authority has got to be embedded in this new organization because faculty is an employee type that has services, and those services from an HR perspective will be provided from this organization. Does that answer your question? Oh, not really.
Well, it's
As
again,
much
we
as
don't,
we can, right? I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, you don't know how, but it will happen
Yeah.
better than it's happening.
I don't know specifically how, no. I mean, that's really the next round of the
Right.
work is to determine that, working with the provost, working with the project team, getting input from stakeholders. Everybody has the shared interest, though, that there has to be an integration for the betterment of providing quality service to our customers. Yes?
But
Barbara?
to add to that is the EOP and the provost office have been actively involved in this whole work up to this
great.
point, so.
Absolutely, yeah. So all of those parties have been very much involved. In fact, on the academic side in particular, we've had 2 deans as part of our executive sponsors, along with Anda Webb. We've had engagement with Tom Katsoulias. We've had engagement from folks embedded in the schools right now, HR professionals who've been involved in the project. So the engagement has been there. We've partnered with EOP in consultation. There's engagement and discussion now. It'll just go to obviously a different kind of level as we get to a deeper design and ultimately some decisions on structure. So with that, let me tell you a couple quick stories. Are we at 15 now?
You've got 3 minutes.
Okay, good. A couple quick stories. The other aspects, by the way, just show the critical roles. Self-service is critically important and will take on a new flavor with new enabling technology. The manager's role, always important, continues to be important in the kind of work and the kind of interactions in HR that they do. I mean, really, no HR operation is truly going to be first rate without a deep engagement of the manager in leading their team. I mean, I've always said, and I believe this, and it's subject to debate, I guess, but that as a manager, you have an HR hat on. Every manager has an HR hat. They put it on from time to time when they're scoping out a new position, when they're doing interviews. They are an HR official. Now, hopefully they have great processes and support and enabling technology to do their work, but managers have to be involved in the work of HR because the work of HR is our talent. And that's the role of the manager, is to shepherd talent, source talent, retain talent, and accomplish goals through people. That's what we do. And then the business services area is really something new, and I am very excited about these areas because these are areas within HR that we've all really struggled to do very well. We know that they're important, and so we kind of jam them in different pockets. Think of vendor management. Think of analytics. Think of the project management that we do in the HR space, whether it's to implement a new process or a new system. And we have great partnerships with people. Things do happen, but we've kind of made that, in many ways, very much just out there, and various people put that hat on. Imagining focusing in expertise in those areas so that we can have better analytics, better vendor management, better training and development for our HR professionals. And that's where the business service policy work, my goodness. Just think of the whole policy process and having a subject matter expert moving that through in a very efficient way, getting the feedback. Things will just turn faster. I think they'll be much more aligned strategically. That's the business services aspect that's integral. And again, that's a little bit not as much customer facing as it is supporting the HR organization to do its work. The most customer facing components are those 3 areas: the business partner, the centers of expertise, and the service center. And the 2 most important, really, day-to-day, face-to-face with the customer are going to be the business partners and the service center. And I'd like to tell a couple of quick stories, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, I'm driving, aren't I? So just a little story of how, a couple of quick examples. You might have John, who's a faculty member, who's a brand new faculty member at the university, and he wants to staff up. Maybe he's a research faculty member, and he's trying to get folks hired to support his research operation. He is going to want to consult with that business partner who may be partnering behind the scenes with our talent acquisition expertise to get those jobs posted, get those pools built. But the interaction, key interaction, is here. Doesn't mean the service partner is posting all those jobs, keying all that stuff in. No, they're going to be partnering with a center of expertise as the engine behind that relationship, getting John what he needs promptly and effectively. Again, just one example of the interaction. Another interaction, though, is John maybe setting up all his retirement choices and his benefit options. He's going to be using self-service, hopefully primarily, but if he has some specific questions about those kinds of transactions that he would do as an employee, he's going to interact with the service center. So those two touch points are critical and the interplay between both of those. We have Joanne, who's a manager. She is interested in aspects, let's say, of some maybe immigration and compliance issues. She again would work with her service partner who would partner with a service center if that's where it could be there, maybe in a talent acquisition center of expertise. Just for illustration purposes, we'll put the service team where the service partner is helping Joanne as the manager get those kind of things taken care of for her organization, working with the expert needed to be partnered with. So again, business partner, service team, key points of contact for most employees. But again, when Joanne, let's say she just had a baby and wants to add that baby to her benefits as a status change, not going to go to the business partner. She should have enabling technology through self-service to take care of that transaction promptly. And if she had any questions, who would she call? The service center for it, correct. Let's say Joanne is interested in exploring an incentive plan. Are there incentive plans that exist for the kind of work that she does? Let's say she's at Darden and they are marketing a product through the Darden School of Business and they want to incent some of their employees or helping to market that product. What options may Joanne have? She again is going to work with her business partner who's going to partner with that Total Reward Center of Expertise to know what is state-of-the-art best practice incentive options that we may find align with our policy here at the university. So you don't see Joanne just call, I mean, again, she could call the person over there, but that person would say, hey, have you worked with your business partner on that? So that Joanne knows who to go to. And then I'll just summarize with the applicant experience because those are important customers. And the you and you first is not just folks that are already here, it's folks that may come. And just think, putting our best foot forward with technology on the applicant side that makes it a welcoming, easy process to apply for positions. And then when you get on board, then again, this service partner would play a role with the manager. So let's say Joanne finally got that hire. That onboarding process is really going to be a partnership here with enabling technology underneath that to accelerate that transition to the university. I'll stop there. This summarizes the centers of expertise. The other slide, which you'll get as a follow-up, talks a little bit about the business services. You'll get these. Probably seen these on the UFirst website. They're there in different formats. Questions that you have, because I think I have 2 or 3 minutes left.
One.
I have one question or 1 minute? Yes?
Has a contract been signed?
With the cloud-based provider?
Yeah.
No, not yet. The negotiations have been going actually very, very well. There are actually negotiations with a multiple. See, it's so interesting you mentioned that. We should have a contract by the end of the month. That's the plan. But there are negotiations going on with multiple vendors, not only on the cloud-based software side, but also system implementers. So each one of these providers, and I think you may know we're negotiating with 2 vendors, each of them have preferred system implementers. And these are firms that actually help implement, and it's not the actual provider themselves. So we have about 6 negotiations going on at one time. Hopefully, by the end of the month, to have 1 provider and 1 system implementer. It's complicated. I'm not on that work stream. I got to hand it to Teresa Wimmer and Michael Latsko leading the way, as well as a whole lot of folks on that team. John Tien's on that team. I'm going to miss some people, so forgive me if you're on that team and you're out there. It's an amazing team. They have nonstop been working this to get us to a contract. When we first started this about a year ago, and the target was to have a signed contract by July, I was among the people who thought they were crazy. I really did, and I was wrong. They're going to get it done. It's really, really impressive. And then just in terms of timeline, the hope is that we would kick off. Well, there's a lot of functional work to be done to look at the next phase of the project, who's involved in that project, how does that impact the operations, what work can be done in gearing up for the functional side of the change. Then there's the whole system implementation, and that should be kicked off in January with an 18-month window in hopes that in July of 2018, we would have a new enabling technology, obviously being formed with some incremental change along toward a new organization. That's the game plan. And as you might imagine, there's a lot happening to just try to assess how that's going to happen. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brett Schnell. I'm the director of HR, should say, at the Department of Athletics, and we get the fun responsibility of having to follow one of the most dynamic speakers at the university, Brian Gary, and get sandwiched in between what you probably want to hear, the merit increase process. But Joe Esposito, who you probably know, and if you don't, he's the university's Total Rewards Compliance Manager. And he's the subject matter expert here today with regard to some issues on compliance on what we're going to talk about. I'm not a subject matter expert in goal pays, but I am here to try to give you an update on what S3 is looking to do. I'm part of a committee where we are taking a look at goal pay in general, but also its application within the university. What are best practices out there with other institutions, and really trying to get our hands around a topic that's kind of morphed over the years from really kind of faculty wage payments that have gone now into not just exempt payments to non-exempt payments to a myriad of different people who are actually being paid through this mechanism. And so what we're trying to do is really get our hands around it a little bit, take a look at it, refine some of the policies around it, and really try to understand where we need to take it, because it's a complex issue. But importance to this is really having to take a look at how it actually plays a part in the ACA, or the Affordable Care Act, as well as FELISA, and as well as the university policies. And so it's important to kind of talk about this, and in the spirit of involvement, engagement, we're going to try to do a little bit of that. First of all, I guess I want to just ask how many individuals actually deal with or have heard of goal pays? So quite a few of you. That's scary. That's scary? Yeah, that's scary. So Joe says that's scary. But it doesn't surprise me. But what we want to try to find out a little bit, because we're going to talk just a little bit about standard conditions, what we put in, and some of the things that we want to take a look at as we go forward, because Joe is actually having to ensure compliance with the ACA. We're having to try to make sure that we are tracking hours appropriately. And there are some things that we thought we could bring forward as we go through this process, and it's taking us a little while, as you can imagine, to take a look at this particular topic and how we'll actually finalize and what we'll be doing with this topic. But as we go forward, I think there are some things that we wanted to bring forward and just make sure of that are talked about. But one of the things that I'd like to just see if somebody's willing to get up and just tell a little bit about their experience with goal pays, and just be able to tell us in their own words what they feel is been a good process for them, what they've struggled with, and just so that we get a little sense of out there in the university, what's your interaction with goal pay. So do I have somebody? And I have an incentive for somebody, so if you want to stand up. It's not a great incentive, but it is something that I want to pass along. If somebody's willing to just talk a little bit about their exposure and what their scope is with regard to goal pays in their particular area. Would anybody be willing to do that? I don't have my t-shirt cannon here, but I do have a nice little t-shirt from athletics to be able to give to somebody. So is anybody willing to do that?
All right, I will.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
I'm Debbie Mincarelli from the College and Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. We use goal pay to pay our salaried faculty members. We also use goal pay to pay our graduate students. We use goal pay to pay our heritage theater participants, our actors and our actresses that we hire for 4, 5, or 6 weeks during the summertime. And those are a combination of exempt and non-exempt type roles. And so we use goal pay for that. And I'm going to reveal a dirty little secret here. Sometimes we don't always comply with the federal regulations, and we find out about a month later that somebody started working. And so sometimes we use goal pay as a catch-up bucket to dump salaries into when we have some errors to fix. Did I miss anything?
So explain what goal pays are.
Goal pays. where you take an annual salary and you divide it equally among the monthly pay periods that someone might be paid over. So for instance, 9-month faculty are paid over 9 months. They're paid on the monthly payroll, so they get 9 paychecks. So we take their 9-month salary, divide it by 9, and that's how much they get paid once a month, right? So there are sometimes 10-month faculty, right? And so we take their 9-month salary and divide it by 10, and then we pay them out over 10 months. And we do that with 11 and 12 too. So, so there's multiple ways that you can slice the amount, but basically it is a mechanism to pay a lump sum amount to a particular individual over a specified period of time, and it's a fixed amount, right? So does
That is
help?
what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. So we have one person. I just want one other person to be able to stand up and just tell us about your scope and how you use it. Anybody willing to do that? Come on.
I'll do it.
All right,
I have
thank
to
you.
stand up.
Yes, you do. If you wouldn't
And I
mind
am
doing.
standing up. I'm from the Miller Center. We use gold pays for summer research wages, for overloads for faculty, and actually that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say.
Do you know your total numbers of?
Well, the overloads are a lot more this year because we're working on the first year project and there's just a lot of participation from faculty across grounds. I've probably done about 15 overloads this year. Summer wages, I've got about 8 faculty. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, and you get this other T-shirt. So I appreciate that. Thank you to those folks. So really, we do use that quite a bit out there in the university, and so what we wanted to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to have Joe talk to you about some points that we want to make sure are emphasized here today, because it's very important to understand that it's something that we have to always put in our standard conditions. We have to be able to track hours. We have to be able to put the hours in, and many times we're not doing that as well as we could be, or we're not thinking that it's very important. But there is an importance, and so I'm going to turn it over to Joe and let him talk a little bit about what are some of the things that are critical to be thinking about, and as we go forward. And then as this group works on goal pays and they're able to be better define what the policies are around goal pays and how we use them and what we might have to look at, that information will come forward as we move forward. But here are some things that Joe can tell you about and be reminders that you can be thinking about as we go forward.
Okay. So regarding the ACA and the goal pay, we're mostly concerned about non-exempt employees in roles that have goal pay, multiple assignments, because we track their hours. Exempt employees, we track their hours, but it's really doesn't qualify under the ACA. But the non-exempt is very important. So when we hire somebody, we put them into what kind of an exempt person when they're their first year. Anybody know what we call that time period under the ACA?
Probationary?
You know?
Look back here.
The look back period, yep, it's called the initial eligibility period. Right? We have to, based on their date of hire, we look back a whole year and we watch their hours. Okay? And so that's one of the measurements. And then we have a second period, which kind of ties right into open enrollment in the October 3rd of each year through October 2nd the following year. And you know what that period of time is called? I think I heard somebody. Standard measurement period. Right? So you get measured in your first year twice. After that, pretty much you're just on a October to October time frame for the ACA, and we monitor those hours. So it's important when we put in goal pay assignments in, a lot of times, Debbie said it, to put that time, not just the salary, but the actual hours, the correct hours. Don't let it default to 40. That's usually where the problem comes into, is we let that field default to 40 and all of a sudden, boom, right? And then we're going back trying to reprocess. So just be accurate with the number of hours that you're putting in there based on that salary, so that way it all comes together in a good way. Because if somebody does pick up an extra assignment and we actually have to add more hours to it to get, because they might be working somewhere else, and you need to get the hours and put it into the system. Things won't come out, unwind at the last minute when we're getting ready to give you a call and say, holy cow, something just blew up, right? And I don't want to have to sit there and say, I don't know. So, so anyway, we just want to make sure that everybody understands that the hours have to be accurate and timely. So if they're working another assignment, we just need to make sure we get those hours back into us in a timely manner, so that way the record will roll and we can be on top of it and give you fair notice if something's coming close, instead of just the last pay cycle when somebody just automatically goes over because everything got caught up. That's usually when it gets, everybody's starting to go crazy. Okay? Questions on tracking the hours for ACA? The purpose of those hours? Anything?
Is that for a 1,500 hour position?
Yes, the 1,500 hours, yes. Wage, temps, usually, and again, the non-exempt when they get those extra time. Because even the non-exempt, if they're part-time, if they get those hours in there, we have to, remember they're paying a different rate for their medical plans. If they get that 1,560 threshold, we actually have to flip them to full-time and offer them the full-time rates. Even though we offer a medical, we got to change that status.
Anything else? I know we got to stand over time.
Is there a formula somewheres in the sky for faculty wage? If they're teaching, say, a 2-credit course, is that an X amount of hours someplace written down of how many hours would go into that standard conditions field?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be where?
We can get that out and make it available to you. There's both and it's based on the overload formula, where there's a certain number of contact hours and a certain number of support hours.
Yes, I would be very interested in that, because we have a couple of people who work here and there and yon, and we bump up against that 1,500 hours.
We'll get with UHR and we'll get that out and make sure everybody can.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Can I add one other thing to goal? Yeah, thanks, guys. One thing to goal pay to keep in mind. There's a taxing implication. So let me go through an example. Let's say that you have someone, a GRA or GTA, and you want to pay them $10,000, and you want to pay them over 10 pay cycles. Okay, that means they're going to get $1,000 bi-weekly, and they're going to be taxed if they're making $26,000 a year. Let's say in the summertime you bring a faculty member on and you want to pay them $10,000 and you put it in there for one goal pay, they're going to be taxed as if they're making $260,000. And I can't tell you the number of times we'll hear from that faculty member saying, my goodness, you just killed us in taxes. So again, keep that in mind. Whatever that bottom number is, in my example, that 10 versus 1 has a significant impact on taxes. So again, in the summertime, you might want to think about that faculty member spreading it out over maybe 4 or 5 pay cycles, as opposed to just one pay cycle. It will have an impact. Okay, I hope that helps. It's just a kind of sideline.
Dear, doesn't that also have to be consistent with what their typical monthly salary would be? I mean, so if
Well,
you're not
again,
making $10,000
these goal
a
pays
month-
are independent of their regular
Right, I
salary.
understand, but you still can't get paid above your base salary, monthly base salary in a given month. Unless there's,
These are-
if there's bonuses or something like that.
These are different kind of payments other than their normal salary.
I know, we would,
Normally, a faculty member will get paid on a monthly basis
Right.
over 9 months. And in the summertime, in that example of faculty overload, they might pick up the summertime. It's independent of their salary.
not if they're working on federal awards, not though.
Well, again, it's the uniqueness of the case.
Yeah.
Okay?
Gold pay, we all love gold pay.
No, we don't.
Are you sure about that? I'm back again, Jennifer Atkins, Compensation Manager, and I know you're excited to hear about the merit. So I'm going to talk about that this morning. This year we worked with the Provost Office in order to have a joint merit communication. So last week we sent out the guidance to our HR partners and the S3 members that are part of 1HR, and it explained the process for this year. So I'm going to share with you that information as well this morning.
So here is the information around the merit pools and the dates. And so you can see for university staff, we expect 3% pool with the effective date of 8/8, and the paycheck date would be 8/26. For TNR faculty, the 4.75% pool, again with the dean's discretion at that. The 12-month effective date is 7/25, and the paycheck date would be the 9/1. And for 9-month, 8/25, and then the check date is 9/30. For the A&P faculty and the PRS, they will use the 3% pool. And then for classified staff, we anticipate 3% across the board increases effective the 10/31 paycheck date 11/18/16. On that one, we last heard from General Assembly that that was the case, and so that's where our guidance is coming from. However, you've probably read the news, just like we have, and they're looking again at their budgets. So as with everything on these dates, I just want to note that they're subject to change because we don't know exactly how this will all play out. But again, for planning purposes, we want to make sure that we get the information out as soon as possible to you so that you can start your planning. So for this year, we have a recommended matrix based on the performance ratings. So you see that there. Note obviously that schools and units, just as in prior years, you have flexibility around what approach you will use to meet your business needs. And I know individual schools have different ways that they run their analytics, and that's fine. We're going to keep with that. And again, budget considerations, performance rating, all of those are looked at throughout the schools and units. So again, as in prior years, we're allowing that flexibility. Some people look at the market pay penetration as well when they're formulating what they will do with their merit. And again, that's normal. So again, just based on the guidance, the important part is to keep in mind the point of why we do merit in general, that we ensure that the increase that's being provided is based on merit and that the managers are able to explain how they arrived at that amount. So those are key. But again, we're trying to keep this process similar as it was to last year, so there shouldn't be any surprises in that. So as a gentle reminder, one thing that is sometimes lost is that we need to make sure that those eligible for merit have been on board by December 31st, 2015 in order to be eligible for that merit increase. So that's one piece to keep in mind. Also, you need to make sure that the performance evaluation is on file. So that's something that you'll be able to tell as well when you're looking in the LEADAT system. And we also will be looking at that from a UHR perspective to make sure that those performance ratings are in there. If you have an employee that is at 100% of the market, they are eligible to receive perhaps a one-time bonus payment rather than a base pay increase, and there isn't a set recommended amount for that. But what I would encourage you to do is if you have someone that's 100% of their market value, take a good look at why that person is at that level. So is there something unique about how they arrived at that pay? Are they in the right job? You know, why are they there? This is kind of your opportunity to take a holistic view of why that person may be there. We, again, will require a second level reviewer for any of those increases that would be issued at 0% if the person was rated as effective or higher, and also looking at those that are above the 10% for an increase. So those would need special authorization. The transfers to medical center, again, they are eligible for merit increases regardless of their hire date because they are a transfer. And those that are rated as a 2 but end up getting a merit, we do want a comment in there as to why they are receiving an increase. And anytime after or on August 18th, the information can be shared with the impacted staff and AP faculty on what their increases are. And you can, just like last year, input information that in addition to a merit, so it could be a change in job duties or other components that could be listed in that change. And most importantly, there'll be an in-person training work session about the keying, and that will be held on August 4th. So again, that will be similar to last year. So the handout that you've been provided provides you a timeline, and it shows you a side-by-side, so hopefully that's helpful to keep track of the dates depending on which side of the house you're working. So the left side shows the TNR faculty and PRS timeline dates and what to anticipate for those. And then on the right side, it shows the U staff and AP faculty and the timing associated with that. So hopefully the side-by-side view will help better understand where you are at what point over the next couple of months. Again, the worksheets have been issued for the planning periods for U staff and AP faculty. Those went out last week, and I know the faculty worksheets are also being generated, so you should anticipate seeing that information soon. All right, questions?
First, the merit process, that's just for university employees, and since the classes that get three across the board, is that correct?
Right, so it's anticipated, just like in prior years, that we'll process the classified across the board, whatever those may be, whenever they may be, centrally, so that you don't have to worry with them. Yep. Yes.
Two questions. So my first question, I heard from one of our associate deans that the spreadsheet that he received with the recommendations, it looked like it had not been updated. The LEADAT for some of the employees showed that it was not complete when it is complete. Do you know about the timing on that? And then my second question, I am always very confused about staff who are still in the probationary period. So brought on board in the fall, so they're eligible, but don't have a completed LEADAT.
Okay, so good questions. The first one, the planning worksheets were generated as of May 11th, so any changes that occurred after that date wouldn't be reflected on the spreadsheet. And we tried to work with the timing and the collaboration to get one joint message is kind of why there was delay, in addition to all the things that were going on as far as what dates will we use. And so those spreadsheets are for planning purposes only, so any changes that occur after May 11th up until the August timeframe, those will be needed to update manually on those spreadsheets because they are frozen at a point in time. So unfortunately, at any point we ran them, it would be that case. But once it goes live in LEADAT, that information should be able to be seen. As far as the probationary ratings, I understand too that some of them weren't showing maybe on the planning worksheets, but they should be able to show through the LEADAT system. But again, I would be mindful just that if they should have a rating on file, even if it is the probationary, that you should be mindful of that through the department. And Allison, I don't know if you have any systems piece to talk about that point.
It's just that they're going to only have a probationary rating, and so, or they may not even have an evaluation on file at all, but they are eligible, and so our guidance has always been that the manager just needs to basically certify that they're performing at least effective or higher.
Okay, great, thank you.
Obviously, yes, oh, no. Okay. As we go through this process, you may encounter more questions as we enter into the next couple months, so I understand that completely, and obviously you can reach out to me and let me know if you need anything.
Hi, I'm Sue Simpkins. I've been here for 28 years, so that makes me old. So,
Join the better half of the hill.
yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. So I'm here today to review the 9-month termination process. There seems to be some confusion around it, so I wanted to make sure that we just kind of briefly go over it because it's that time of year. So now we're talking about folks who are 9-month faculty appointees and they are greater than 6 months, their appointment, they're greater than 50%, and it's not a service retirement because service retirement, we would use May 24th if they're retiring as of May 24th. So 9-month faculty who are leaving on May 24th, what you would do is you would date track to May 25th, This is if they don't have any other assignments. So you would date track to May 25th, go to their assignment, change their assignment status to non-12-month termination. Go into the assignment details and put in an assignment change reason of miscellaneous change. First step. Then you can go and run the PSP, liquidate encumbrances for employee termination process. Now when you run that process, you're going to enter their name and you're going to enter in a termination date of August 24th. And the reason is these employees, they prepay for their benefits from September to January. And you want to make sure that they get the benefits that they've paid for by making sure that they go through August 24th. So are we good so far? Okay, last step. All right, then you go to the end employment screen. You're going to put in their assignment leaving reason. In the projected field, you're going to put May 24th. In the actual end date field, you're going to put August the 24th, and everything will be hunky-dory because these people will still get their benefits that they've already paid through August the 24th. Okay. We're good.
And I will tell you, Sue has graciously written this all down.
That was my next question.
Yes. So we will make all of the presentations today, and Sue's written down step by step available. They will be available out in the HR Community Circle website. So
the young are starting to feel old. Right?
Maybe just tired.
Just tired. But again, remember the journey. And these are things that are just going to take time, and we'll keep on repeating as we need. The other thing that and Ellen would support this is, if there's other topics that you feel you would like to have these refreshers and bring up to date on different processes, let us know so that we can continue to incorporate. This isn't our meeting, this is your meeting. And so again, as we're on that journey, we want to make sure that you have the information that you need to do those baby steps. And again, keep in mind that each one of you touches everybody in some way in your organization, from the highest level to the entry level. So the things that we're trying to cover, make sure that you are successful so that they have the services provided by you that they need to be successful. Okay?
So we are going to give everyone the month of July off. We're going to take a small vacation in July from this meeting. So the next meeting will be August 4th. It's up on the website. We may be changing the location. We're going to check into that. So stay tuned. We'll get some more emails out, and always watch the HR Community Circle website. I have a favor to ask everyone. I think one of the things that we would like to know is how well we're doing. We often around here are so busy. If we're doing something well, people aren't talking about it. They're just going along with their business. Now, if we're not doing something well, I'm sure people are going to tell us about that. But I would ask you to kind of reflect on today, how valuable it was to you, if there are things we're doing well or we could do better, or things that you'd like to see. Our emails are out there, Daryl's and mine are. We would love to hear from you, even if it's just, okay, I like the format, you know, it was a good length. There's an awful lot of thought and planning going into this. And we, other than looking at smiling faces or grimacing faces, we're not quite sure if this is meeting your needs. So we would really appreciate it if you would just take, 10 or 15 minutes to reflect on the first two meetings and shoot Daryl and I an email and let us know if there's anything we're missing or things that you particularly like. Because as Daryl said, we need to know what you're thinking in order to make sure that this meeting is meeting your needs.
My email is being forwarded to Brian these days.
From old to old.
So with that, I'm very happy to say that we're out even just a little bit early, which is